Georgia, I'm so happy that you agreed to talk to me, because I remember when I took your picture also that you had wonderful insights into this time, and I think it's very important. This is why I also speak to a lot of artists and especially dancers, because I think I realized that we don't really know what the dancers are going through with their bodies. I think the bodies, is some big part of the way they express themselves, or that it's their instruments. And I think in this time, it's very important that we talk about this, because I wonder how this will shape the next few years of them getting back to how it was, and what their
Spirit.
bodies could do. Yeah.
The spirit is a huge part of it. It's not like there's not just the body is. Yeah, the spirit is like. Well, have we started already?
We started, yes.
No, I think it happens most of the time. I was very lucky in my career that it never happened to me, but it happens that you have injuries for which you have to stop for a very long time,
Mm,
and then the stop phase, and then the recovery phase that sometimes is very long until you get back to what it was. Just to make you understand, for me, the month off that I took, or the month and a half off that I took when I was very young, later I didn't take it anymore, that I took in the summer, it took me all the way to January to feel back of, now I have control of my body and I can do what I want to do. So imagine for an extended period of time where you really cannot dance, even though you might, every dancer does his own, if he's conscious, his own exercises at home, and but nothing it will compensate the lack of performing on stage, which is a completely different thing
mm,
than training. The dancing on stage is really another, it's really the test, and it's really where you push, otherwise you don't really push. And that is a dramatic
mm,
thing at the moment. It is that there's a lot of dancers, that a lot of companies are doing trainings. Some of them, they do separate trainings, like little groups, and then from these companies you have, like, 4% that are managing to perform because they find in those countries where the possibilities is there, and other people then there is a 20% or 30% that do streaming performances. So they but again, it's not the same, and the streaming performance takes away, I don't know if we want to get into that, the the
mm,
the most interesting part of performing,
mm,
which is it's really an act that involves the artist and the audience together. It's a moment where you feel, when you're on stage, the reaction of the audience, and the audience feels the adrenaline, the sweat, and really catches the moment of the dances. And it's really something unique, and it's difficult to explain. But actually, when you're dancing, you do feel the audience, even if you do something that is full of tension. You could feel the silence, and you can feel the suspense, and you can feel, well, people are stopped coughing, and there's this still attention, that it's a magical moment that is happening in the moment that you are consciously or unconsciously picking up this thing, and you don't have it. So you're missing the feedback. You're missing, it's yeah, that
but
is
that's what many dancers tell me, that they miss that feeling. And I wonder now, when you talk about this energy, also that this is part of what makes them, what drives. So you know, the drive. So for example, the on stage part is really the part that physically pushes them to limits that they wouldn't have done, say, for example, the hour that they do a class, or even in rehearsal, that you know, so
Absolutely.
that is the part that the body really goes to that extreme.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because no matter how good you are, and of course, when you're good, you think, okay, I put myself in I'm in a rehearsal and I put myself in the state of mind as if I'm doing a performance and I push. It's never the same. It's never the real thing. When you're on stage, it is something else. And you put in this extra kick that you have, you put in the interpretation, and you interpret your steps with really with the soul, and you communicate, because this is
Mm.
at the end what it is, and the dance is a language, and you're communicating with us. It's not just the the, the, the the movement alone. It's really what it represents, is what you do with it. And this is, you can never express it when you're alone, or when you do streaming and stuff like that. And when you do streaming, you take the 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 event
Mm.
away, and the event is the magic of the live performance. The fact that the audience gets there with some kind of expectation, the
Mm.
dancer gets there with some kind of expectation, with of course most of the time with fear, before you get on stage,
Yeah.
you get these panic attacks and stuff like that. So that is irreplaceable. Irreplaceable.
And what I also heard from a dancer, which was also something very interesting, is you know, a lot of the musicians talk about, oh, this thrill of being, you know, when there was a moment where there was an audience and they could perform, and you know, being back on stage, they had this wonderful emotional experience of, oh wow, you know, this is back. But then a dancer told me, when I asked him about how was it your first time back when there was an audience, I think in the summer there was a bit of a moment where we had audiences again. But what he said was that he actually felt, not, his body didn't feel the same as it used to, and that took away from this, you know, that it made him suddenly realize how much his body changed in the time, and that, you know, that he didn't feel this wonderful emotional experience about that.
Yeah, it's true. What I was telling you is going on stage is a different thing than dancing alone, and you push differently, and everything is an exercise process. So the more you do it, the more it gets into your body. For me, it was always the 6 months after the summer. I was getting in shape. January, February, I thought, here I am. Here I can start to be there
Mhm.
again and be what I think I can be. If not, there's always something to perfection. But yeah, it is tragic for that. But yeah, this is the situation that we are in, and
Yeah. And but do you think that now, I'm thinking now, for example, female dancers, so girls, so many of them also, you know, they are extremely thin, or in many companies they are quite thin. And of course in this time that you know, it's maybe their bodies changed as well. um, do you think this is maybe also a positive thing, um, that health, you know, that the dance, that the girls are maybe more healthy? Because I know this is a topic that is very sensitive in ballet, and that's about girls
yes, well,
physiques.
it's very individual, because in this situation everybody has reacted differently, and I've seen, but it's not only in the dance department. I think everywhere, everybody reacts in two different ways. The people that have said, okay, this is me time, my time, I can now focus, I can have the time to focus on myself. What can I do? I don't have stress from the outside. What can I do for me? And they get better, they get healthier, that, you know, they are starting to have a healthier routine and maybe work out. And other people that say, what for? And so maybe they're not so motivated and they let themselves go and they go in the opposite direction. There's really the two different worlds. Now, compared to the subject of girls, I don't have first-hand information of how they're dealing with that, but I've seen both people gaining weight and people feeling totally healthy, regenerated, detoxified, and it's
That
too
depends. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right. It's probably it will always, it will be probably in on all walks of life like this. You know, some people will take the benefit of it, and
Well,
yeah.
it's I think it's like good exercises. I mean, I have done it myself. Um, what can you do in this situation? Well, now it's a little bit less because we're not in a situation as we used to be a few months ago. But again, are you going to direct, you know, how you're going to be and how you're going to face this challenge, or you're just going to take it for what it is? The first, you know, few days, I was like, okay, you cannot do anything about it. Let's, you know, let's go with the flow. After a while, you think this is going to last a little bit. So what am I going to do? What do I really want to do? Is this is this an opportunity? Am I going to take it as an opportunity? And if you do that, then it's great, because whenever when did I have something like this? Never. You know, you were going from things to thing, and it was a struggle to keep up anyway. And so and when time stops and you can reset and you can think, okay, where do I want to go? What do I want to do, and what is it important? Unfortunately, for me, the choices were not many, because my work is really working with people and working with a big group of people. So this
Oh yeah,
is it
yeah,
was the biggest dilemma. I think more than I don't want to be I don't want to be saying that I'm special, but this for me was I am in a worse situation than everybody else.
yeah.
One extent, you have a dancer that can, if you want, you know, perform in some videos that he makes on his own, or then somewhere. I cannot practice my job, actually.
Yeah, you
So
need it, but this is almost like a conductor, really, because they have the same as us, can we say, problem. You know, they needed the orchestra to
true.
create these
The
sounds, and
orchestras are back, and the big events are not back still. So still,
yeah,
they already, or they do also
yeah.
smaller events and online and streaming and stuff like that. My part of the business has never started since March last year. This is more than a year and a couple of months, and who knows when again.
But as a choreographer, do you think this time has um, given you a creative, like many more creative ideas, or do you need this interaction the whole time, or can silence bring this to you, for you?
A difficult question in many ways. First of all, because I do not know how to answer until I actually get on and do it again.
Oh, I
To,
see. Yeah.
to tell you if that went one way or the other. In the theoretical part, I can say that I've had the time to find a lot of inspiration on many things. I was very busy looking at. I get inspiration from everything, from historical movies to biography to books, from films or anything visuals that or emotional, I get a lot of feedback. And this time it was a lot of feeding into that. But then again, the less you do your job, the less you think you are able to do it. You
mm,
know, really, it happens when I finish a premiere and I put everything inside. I come back at home, and the 2 days after, you fall in a minor, I don't want to heavy words, but minor depression, in the sense that you feel that you've given everything you got, and you have also the feeling that I don't think I can do anything anymore, because
mm.
I've given everything. So what would it be the next thing? If I've given everything now, can I still give everything in the next time?
Mhm.
But then, of course, it does, because things are different, and the stimulus are different, because the subject is different, the company is different, the theater is different, etc. The music is different. But again, you have this feeling that I don't know if I can do it again. I don't know if I can, if I have it in me, because I don't do it.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know. I don't know.
yeah.
Maybe I lost the touch. You know.
But I wonder if we will see after this period things that you as choreographers will create, not necessarily inspired by the pandemic, but that there will be some sort of uh, um, period of time where uh, things are choreographed or created, and even in music, I wonder that we can specifically say, well, this was because of this time, or because of this period of quietness, you know?
Interesting. And again, I think everybody's going to take it their own way. I have a feeling that I am not attracted to anything that has a that as a theme, the pandemic, or this time of block, just because it is a tragic thing. It is a tragic thing in many ways. And I don't like to dwell in the things that are negative. I and this is me personally, but again, as a creator, I don't want to create for the audience something that has in per se inside something that is negative, or something that is
Mm.
I so I steer away whenever there is something that looks like it's a COVID, it's a pandemic, it's a
Oh yeah,
lockdown,
yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
like this. Like, we heard enough. I cannot, you look at the news, you read the papers, it's the same thing. And what it is to go into a theater and to see a performance is that you can finally elevate yourself and dive in a new world. And
Mm,
this dream, or this magic that I like to have when I am a spectator, I like to give as well.
mm.
So if anything, to answer your question, I will go for, the most, you know, fantasy world as
Yeah.
possible, something that's dreamlike, something that is far away as possible from the moment that we lived in, because
The
theater,
escape. Yeah.
dance in general, is, to me, it's a vital art. It speaks about
Mm,
vitality, and that's why people are so attracted emotionally, psychologically, but also unconsciously to it. And I think that's the beauty of it. And
mm,
I think I want to serve that purpose rather.
mm. So that is, but that's then really true, because the theater should be that sort of escape from that moment of escape from reality, you know, that you sit
Absolutely.
in the theater, and then when you go out the door, you suddenly realize, okay, well, we're still uh, a bit in this time
Absolutely.
period. Yeah.
Isn't that beautiful when people go, or when you go to the theater and you forget about yourself?
Yeah.
You forget where you came from, you forgot what you look like, you forgot what you were, you forgot what your life was about because you're totally absorbed in in something new that takes you somewhere. But
Mm.
this is the magic that happens in the theater, and this is the one you don't always find it. It's difficult to find it, and you get deceived many times when you try and you expect and it doesn't happen. But when it happens, that is the reason why it's there,
Yeah.
and this is the highest goal that I want to achieve. Is sometimes I think it happens by mistake or not, but
Mm.
that I want to give.
But this is actually then so important that these doors open, because this will help the everybody, the spirit and also I think the health, our health, because this is also what I want to talk to you about, and this is the education of art and how important that is. Because if we talk about uh, audiences now at the moment, and we think for the future and also for the future for the arts, um, should we not start looking at the education of children in art?
Beautiful thing to say. Yes, of course. Um, you know that was it the Second World War when they were asking to Churchill if they should cut the funds
Oh
to
yeah.
the arts, and he said, "Well, if we do that, what are we fighting for?"
Mm.
So exactly. So what is our existence? Existence is only to exist, or is just because we like to elevate ourselves? Because music, singing, dancing, and visual art also is part of what differentiates us as animals from the animal world, and become something that is elevated.
Mm.
That is it. What else? Of course, education is as fundamental and it's very little. I had the chance to have it, and I think it should be mandatory. Unfortunately, I did not study an instrument because I was stupid and I was given the possibility, and I did not take it seriously. And I think I was very immature and stupid not to do it. And I think it is absolutely important.
Well, I think if we, because this is what I think, if music, if all forms of art could be uh, uh, compulsory in schools to do, then alongside, say, maths and science, that art is seen as an important subject, then also art will be seen in all aspects of life as important and not just as a form of entertainment. Um, and if we could, I'm thinking also about smaller countries or smaller cities and towns in the world where children don't have access to big theaters or exposure to so much art that we have, say, for instance, in Vienna or in Europe. Um, and that every child can at least have the benefit, not to become a dancer or a musician, but just to have the exposure to art and the appreciation for art, um, and that brain development that comes along with doing art, some or all forms of art. What do you
Mhm.
think about that?
Absolutely, absolutely. And you think about in so many ways how many arts can influence your life. So your exposure and your education is not only you go to the theater. Yes, as a matter of fact, because you were educated to it, then you go to the theater because you can appreciate it. Because education makes it understand it more,
Yes.
or or gives you a key. Everybody has a
Mm.
different key, and everybody has a different depth. But it gives you a key to understand it, and that changes your life. And I am sure that an educational program will save a lot of social issues that one would
Yes.
have otherwise. take it up in exactly in places where people are less fortunate in the economical or social level, and you bring art in. And what is this person? Would this person that loved Mozart really kill somebody else? I don't
mm,
know. Uh, I don't think so.
mm,
I think it would feed some sort of sensibility that otherwise you wouldn't have reached. And I think it has also if you like, a social benefit.
definitely. I mean, if you just look at how in ballet studios, for example, or ballet companies, and in orchestras, people come from really all different cultures, and everybody accept one another. And also, I think people have more empathy also when they start doing art, and also a different way of thinking.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
it keeps in mind actually that the Wiener Philharmonic that they did not accept women for a long time, but now they. But no, but this is the wrong example. But it is true. It is. I was one of the first companies that I joined was Bejar in Brussels,
Mm,
and it was an extremely mixed. I don't know how many. We were 60 people. I don't know how many nationalities. We were probably 30 or something. And we were black, we were Asian, we were from Arabic countries, we were from Northern Europe and stuff like that. And you sweat and you lift and you move each other. How can you
yeah.
not? Um, how can that not influence the way you
Mm,
are and you see other cultures? Of course it
mm,
does. You're much more open, and the traveling, of course, that goes with it also.
yeah. But I also thought about, this craze that went now in the lockdown time. This Jerusalem, the song that everybody was dancing to, and that also made me think: isn't it interesting that suddenly, when something like that happens, people just jump, get together and dance, for example, and it's this very basic song, but they got together and danced. So I think inherently in people, the movement, it we love to do that. We love to move. We love to dance, and that's part
Because
of it.
it's
Yeah.
instinctive. It's instinctive. It's not. Dancing is instinctive. I think it probably, it's debatable, but it's probably started before music and before any other sort of arts. Because if you put a not exposed toddler to music,
Yeah.
it will start to follow a little bit. It is part of it. It is in our genes to dance,
Mm,
and that's why it's such an important art, because it's very uh, in a way primitive
mm.
inside of us, a primitive need.
Yeah. But tell me, how did you start to dance?
Well, a little bit like that, like as I
Yeah.
just as I told you, like
Yeah.
instinctively. So I was like, I was the clown of my early school years.
Really?
Yeah, I just anything to get. I don't know if it was for attention, but rather I love to kid around and to clown and to
Mm,
dance, to perform and to make imitation. I was imitating it. I was just performing, let's say,
mm,
and that's and so my family was a little bit concerned. It looked like this energy needed to be kind of directed somewhere, and there was a nice lady that was a ballet teacher, lived in my building, and on the way up to the elevator, every time she met me and my parents, she said, well, you should try, why don't you come, and etc. And until one day I don't know why she insisted, of maybe because my parents told her what I was doing, she brought the form to fill in to go to a La Scala Teatro La Scala Ballet School.
Really?
You have to do three tests, and one is physical, the other is attitudinal. So you have many, and as I got in and I passed all the three tests, I realized I was the only one who was in that school without having even have watched one ballet before.
Really?
No idea what I was getting into.
Yeah.
And I was not enthusiastic about it. I thought it was very boring, and I thought it was, and everybody was advanced because they were already doing little ballet schools in their own towns before they joined that big school. And I was completely new to the whole thing, and I thought there was a boring exercise practice that until the day that I got the opportunity to go on stage. It was something fun, something where I could play,
Mm.
something that the kick and the reaction of the audience and the fun and the synergy with the music together, it felt something happen and something was there, and I understood, this is what it is.
Oh,
And then
that's what. Mm.
so it was pretty late already. It was 1 or 2 years after, no, 2 or 3 years after I started already to do
Mm.
the to practice ballet. And then later, these magic moments has happened when I was seeing something else um, extremely particular or good on stage. And then I thought, this is transmitting something that is so special. I want to get it. I want to
Mm.
have it. But mostly, I continue to do it because I like the theater more
Oh,
than ballet. I like theater in
really?
general. I like the lights. I like
Mm.
the magic. I like these what we talked about before. Something that you
Mm.
it's a magical moment where you get into it and you forget about yourself. It's that that
Yeah.
adrenaline that you get as a performance, as an audience as well.
Mm.
And this was quite clear for me from the beginning, and this is what I wanted to do. That's why I had no problems of leaving my career quite early when I was 31, because I wanted to do something else. I wanted to get into the other part of the creation that for me
Yeah.
is a bigger kick
Mm.
than performing on stage myself.
Mm. But that's amazing. So, and then you've uh, done well. You've then from there on do choreographies.
I danced in many different companies. I
Mm.
toured the world, and at one point I thought, I think I've experienced enough here and there, and 2 years here, and 2 years there, 2 years there, 2 years there. And after that, I thought, okay, where do I want to where do I want to go? I want to learn choreography. And I decided I went to a different path than everybody else does. Everybody else starts to choreograph immediately. And I always looked behind, behind the stage and see how the structure worked. And I wanted to be a ballet master first because I
Mm.
wanted to know how to work a choreography, how a
Oh,
choreography
I see.
functions.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to clean a choreography, means to run a rehearsal, direct a rehearsal, and to 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 teach the steps or to integrate the dancer or to perfect what is there. It gave me the tools to understand what the choreography was, how it was built, what was the structure, and why was it working, why was it good, and why was it not. And I did that for in 3 different companies for about 6 years, and then I started to do little working choreography experiments, but not really until I started. I got the opportunity to be director of the ballet at the Volkshofer in Vienna,
Mm.
and there I was responsible for the choreography suddenly, and also because in the first year they had no budget and they told me that I could not do even one new production, and I said, okay, I will do one reproduction because it would cost you nothing. I
Mm.
will do everything. I will do the lights. I will do the costume. I will do the
Amazing.
but
Mm.
I the, the company needs this, and then gave me the possibilities. From there, started off
doing that.
about the works.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Well, it was, out of necessity. You get stuff out of the bag that you don't even know you have.
Yeah. But that's incredible. But that they say that it's usually how it works, that you dive into something like that, and that's how you learn, that you just have
I
to do it. And
Yeah, no, I was extremely lucky for that, because also I forgot to mention that before I was director in a company in Poland, in Lodz, and I did a choreography then. I didn't say, but it was a small choreography. I had a lot of success, and they asked me if I would be director there. And since that time, it was the 2000. Since that time, they gave me always possibility to do big production. It's a huge stage, about the size of the Staatsoper in Vienna, and quite modern for 1960s stage, middle 60s, where you have different platforms that travels everywhere. And I had this big sandbox, huge, with huge possibilities, and I could do whatever I wanted. And I had, so a learning process. I did there, I don't know, 10, 15 production, I can't remember. But really by learning, by doing it. The first performances were probably awful, but I, I perfected, and I could use what was there and learn by doing. Exactly as you said.
Yeah, but that's also something that art teaches you, and I think this perseverance and this motivation, self-motivation to do and to do more and to think wider. And this, if we can teach children this, even if they don't become then dancers or artists, can you imagine how they, in all walks of life, if people have that attitude or that type of mindset of, I'm doing it and learning and doing, how much greater that would be as well.
I think everything, a lot is in the hands of parents, because I had a very fortunate education. Not everybody, I think, can have that chance, but I was giving a lot of possibilities to first of all, one was forced, because all my brothers and sisters, I have four, they're much older than me, and I was forced to play alone. Playing alone means you gotta, use your resources and start to be creative. Now that, plus I had parents that were able to think out of the box, and so I had the chance also to have teachers in the kindergarten that said, guys, this is the hours where we do dress up. There is a box with old clothes, and now get them up and let's play in whatever. So you get out of the box and you create. So the fact of working the creativity, it's really possibly an exercise, but also an incredible resource in life for whatever you're going to end up doing. Whether you're going to be a CEO of a financial company.
Exactly.
Creativity is key, particularly nowadays.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important how parents use that initial years to feed and motivate the child.
Well, I think if we talk about this and talk about these types of things, like you say, the creative mindset and how artists think, and of course how you also talked about this pandemic and what you made of it. I think it's, maybe art, we should use this time and this highlight on the arts to say maybe there's something that positive that has to come out of it. And maybe the positive thing should be that we start thinking about what children are learning, and because they will also be this generation, or the younger generation will also be the audiences of the future.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I don't know if this is happening. And unfortunately, I have little hopes because I see a new generation left kind of alone, and the creativity, the extent of the creativity is how creative can you be in social media work. So like producing content, which it is something. It's definitely exciting. What I worry about is that everybody's going there, and
Yeah.
so everybody, the majority is doing that direction, and creativity really whatever, each one is own, and there's so many things to which one could be creative with. So this is for me a little bit, yeah, I think we're going to have video geniuses coming up, and film directors and actors and stuff like that, but not in other kind of content, of creativity, of ways, and mostly is which with which kind of tools can you do something. This is for me the best challenge. I give
Yeah.
you this
Yeah.
three objects to one subject, do something with it, and this is for me the nice challenge.
But I think you're right, and I think so. I think social media has a very important place, but I think it has to be used in the right way. And maybe because there's no, if you have a purpose, or if you give a child a purpose, and something to work towards, then social media would not be used in this way like they now. It's just about how famous can I get, by how many likes can I get. But if children are given instruments, or given opportunity to dance, for example, or to do some sort of expressive art, then social media can be used to promote these things, and to be used in a positive way. But at the moment, I agree, there's just this very short, and what amazes me as well is the instant way of life, that something has to be 3 minutes or 2 minutes to capture attention, and then it has to be away, and everything that really needs time, or to develop, it needs time to develop. And I think when you learn an instrument, or when you dance, especially, say for instance dance, yourself, you have to start somewhere, and you have to train the body in a certain way. It takes years to become a dancer, and it's the same with playing the violin or the piano.
It's a
And
build up. So yes, I agree. So you build up, you build on
yeah,
something, not just a one-time event. It's true, it's true. Also, I find that a lot of the content is actually follow a quite precise pattern that is already given. So there's a song, I do lip sync. There's a dance, I copy the dance. There's a but
yeah,
we it's a following a pattern that is already being given. So creativity is within that given pattern. Very few, and those are all successful. They get creative in thinking, okay, it's a medium. What can I do? Completely out of thinking out of the box, and this maybe builds onto something else. But it's true that you cannot collect 1,000 TikToks, put them together, and they will become a work, or they will become a base for something else. Unfortunately, most do not.
yeah.
But I think most of it is it's this time in education thinking. I think is music is the most important. Because music gives you, in my opinion, a key for everything, whether it's dance, whether it's singing, whether it's musical, or even acting. When you understand the music, and you
Mm,
understand the value and the spirit and what is supposed to be, you can read between the
yeah.
lines of the pentagram, and
Mm,
and this gives you a way of knowing how to read also other things. And I think is that is what it would be important for me for the
mm,
education and the future.
yeah. But listen, Georgia, on a lighter note, what did you do over lockdown that you've never done before? Did you have a hobby or did you do something
I had
weird?
like a probably hobby. I don't know. I was in the first period. There was a magical theater period
Yeah.
because it was a nice weather, complete quietness, and no emails, no telephone calls. It was brilliant, and the days I passed days looking at YouTube became my friend, and I could find so many things, performances. I never watched a film in 5 months because I was so busy in looking at interviews, looking at historical documentaries, geographical, something like that. Everything that would just get me into new worlds. Which, you see, my life has been very a channel,
Mm,
and this since I was a very little kid. And I, even if I did extensive traveling, my traveling was hotel, theater, airport, and that was the extent of the travel. I
mm,
didn't really travel because I didn't really see the places. Maybe
yeah.
the big fair, but not more. And so to open horizons was a one beautiful thing, and that gave me a lot. And I started getting to diets, and learning a little bit up what is looking at different podcasts, what is interesting, what is I can pick up in the health department. And I started to learn Russian, although I had
Wow.
a big break in the summer and etc. Because I was always fascinated by the culture and by the language. So I wanted to start that, and I was lucky enough that I had somebody in St. Petersburg that would want to meet with me twice a
Mm,
week and do it online. So that was something nice, and I took care a little bit more of my body, just a little bit more, not not excessively. I was
mm,
not a
mm.
many. That was my hobby, and my hobby was my home. Also became my
Okay.
hobby. I started to look around. I started to look around where you never look around when
Mm,
you do your things, and suddenly there is a world. Okay, how
yeah.
is this work?
Yeah.
What can I influence?
Mm,
How can I influence this surrounding? Because I think aesthetic is very important for the mind and the spirit,
mm.
and it fills me with pleasure. So I like beauty.
I'm with you on that one, and I love beautiful homes, and your home is beautiful. I I no, but I agree with you, and I think we notice things that we haven't noticed before, also at home, and yeah.
True, but also walking around, it's a
Mm,
stupid thing. It probably will interest no one that I say. But I was always, channel vision. I drive in and out, 18
mm,
years in and out of this apartment from the center of the city. Suddenly, not taking the car, and I start to walk. I look
mm,
up, I see buildings that I've never seen before. I see
yeah.
houses and villas and city homes, and I think, wow, look at that details.
Mm,
Look at this kind of architecture. Look at the other one. Another big thing was on YouTube. I started to look all the history of Vienna and all the architectural phases and stuff.
really? Mm.
super interesting, because then you realize where you are, realize in a
Yeah,
very superficial way. I mean, I'm sure there is much more to be studied, and if only I had study of architecture, I would have loved that, or history of art, because
mm.
then you pick up what surrounds you. And we are lucky enough to live in a beautiful city.
I know. Yeah.
Fortunately, that they're starting to ruin, and every new intervention is something uglier than what it was before. But the
Mm.
city itself, it's amazingly beautiful.
Mm.
And if one just, and I just begin now after so many years to discover it, and there's so much to see in all these different periods that are also interesting.
Mm. Yeah, I also find it interesting. I studied interior design, and I studied the history of interior design, or the history of design and architecture. And I find it in Vienna, all the different, you can, in this one city, you get all the different eras
Right,
of design really in one
right,
city. It's amazing, yeah.
right.
But you know what I found during all these walks that I walked in Vienna, that I took the photographs, because the graffiti on the beautiful buildings really sometimes um, I find sad, because some of the graffiti is really not nice, and I think the architecture is a form, you know, it's somebody's artwork, this the building, and then it's sometimes sad for me when there's some not so
Mhm.
nice slogan written on it, you know.
Right, and
But
this is
yeah.
culture. Sorry, I interrupted you. This is the culture, huh? Because maybe people have not, this the graffiti artists have not studied that in school, so maybe
Mm.
they don't understand. They're leaning on to something that is more beautiful than what they're doing, but perfectly okay if they makes it something ugly, like say a pathway and under a bridge or something that has no artistic value, and making something more
Yeah,
beautiful, pleasing,
yeah,
then that's perfectly okay with it.
yeah. But when it's a beautiful building and there's just a very horrible slogan written on it, then it's, yeah. But what I did was I then started looking for hearts. I wanted to see if they, because a lot of people paint the hearts on the buildings, and I thought, well, there must be hearts when there's a lot of graffiti, you know, a lot of uh, writings on walls. There must be hearts, and I actually found many hearts. So there are some beauty between all this horrible writings. You will find the hearts in Vienna.
Okay, I never looked for that. I actually don't. I'm not very interested in, maybe my ignorance. I'm not very attracted attracted to the graffiti that I really
I'm
look at.
not attracted to the graffiti at all, but as I say, it you know, it was this idea of it made me really sad when I walked, and when I started photographing, of course the streets were very quiet still, because that was in April 2020, and I was aware more of the graffiti, you know, and because I walked so much and all over it, I was more aware. But then for myself to make it better, I started looking for hearts, and it's amazing how you find the hearts. You just have to look, but you find them. Uh, well, mostly when I went to somebody, I think probably on my way to photograph you, there are a few hearts on the way on the building. So, but yeah, I that was something that it was also for me then started to be symbolic, that I thought, well, amongst everything, there will always be beauty. You know, even in all situations, there will always be something beautiful. And for me, that was symbolically the hearts that I saw on the walls. Yeah.
Nice, because yeah, everybody has that need, I think, inside of
Mm.
itself to look for beauty. Some people might not want to admit them to themselves, and in the art world is a very sad thing. It's a negative connotation.
Mm,
If we talk about beauty in the art world, whether you talk about anything, it's it means automatically that something is superficial and
mm,
something is not important and is not deep and is not meaningful. And I couldn't disagree more.
mm,
For me, beauty is totally meaningful and
mm.
fulfilling, and a beautiful building or a beautiful painting or a beautiful music,
Exactly. Yeah.
a beautiful choreography. It is beautiful and it's not a negative connotation, in my
Mm.
opinion.
Yeah, I know what you mean, because I think also we some people think something can only be good when it's shocking, or when it's, when it has that sort of they call it realistic, but I'm saying love and beauty is also realistic.
Mhm.
So
Absolutely. No, it's a necessity where followed by the critics, I guess. One wants to have a deeper reasoning and a deeper subject that sometimes it's not necessary. If you see a Palladio architecture, uh, the way it's constructed. I was just looking at something, some documentary about that, and again, something that I like to watch. Amazing, the beauty is done with so many thousand little details, and one would say, well, it's just
mm,
beautiful. What's the meaning, or what is the
mm,
meaningful? Yes, it is absolutely. But the proof of the matter is that beautiful things last the test of
yeah,
time,
yeah,
and ugly things don't.
mm,
I'm always hoping that they will destroy some ugly building that they did in Vienna in the last couple of years, because
mm,
I'm sure they will not last the test of time
mm.
compared to buildings next to them, which did last the
Yeah,
test.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I live on cloud nine, so I love beauty, and I'm in love with love, and it's fine. I so far it's worked for me.
It will work for everybody, but glad it's very, very nice that you are in that space.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah. No, I love it here. Sometimes my children say to me to come down to earth, to reality, and I say no, I love it up here.
Really funny that your kids bring you back. No, I
Yeah.
mean, what is it? What is the difference between a human and a beast?
Mm,
Is that possibility to
mm,
to understand and to appreciate something that elevates you, and if that is
mm,
elevating you and is serving the purpose, and that
mm.
is something that you need, and you're probably having a better life than your kids will have. Maybe you should tell your kids that they should
They should come up.
get on the same train with you.
Well, I think that they're starting to see, the or starting to understand their mama. But yeah. But listen, Georgia, tell me, what's your wish for when this is all over? When we start the new normal life?
Oh, well, I don't know if I have a wish. My wish is to go back and do what I think I do best, to create new productions and new pieces for theater or events that fill me up, because in the process of doing them, they enrich me incredibly.
Mm,
Uh, and so I think this is really what I realized, that the big problems was that when everything stopped, I did not stop working like a lot of people did. I stopped doing what I love to do.
Oh, yeah.
I was not alone, you know, obviously. We talked about dancers, we talked about many other, but it is a double impact that you really, you know, it's not that I stopped doing a boring job. I stopped doing what I was raised and wanted to do by my own choice and my
Mm.
desire to do. I could not do it anymore. So my biggest wish is to go back and continue to
To
do
do it.
and pick up from where I left, and maybe I will have something else different in me to put in,
Mm.
hopefully.
But yeah, I think that is the distinction between the artist and I would say non-artists or art people who do a job, and you artists who really do what you love and do what is almost like a calling to you. And that is that, you know, why it's so difficult to not be able to do that.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. And you realize, okay, but everybody else is going, okay, somebody can reinvent themselves.
Mm.
I cannot really reinvent myself because I've been reinventing myself within my job, but not in something
Yeah.
else. I cannot imagine very much doing anything else than what I really love doing.
Mm.
Just choreographing and stage directing, basically.
Mm.
And doing lighting for performances also make me
Really?
yes, I love
Yeah.
that. It's really something that I love to do.
Wow. But well, I hope then that I hope I can come and see one of your creations soon. And but it was so lovely to talk to you
Thank you
and
for
talk to you again, and to get your perspective on this, and how you did it and kept motivated. But thank you so much, Georgia.
thank you.
And I
Thank
hope
you.
to see you soon. Yeah.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah. Okay.
Aspetta.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.